everyone. Welcome to Quarantine Parenting. My name is Dr. Courtney Pegram, and thanks for joining me. I'm excited to have you with me. If you're joining me for the first time, well, I've got a ton of videos for you. I deliver these daily videos with insights, tools, or resources. I pull from stuff I've learned, I pull from my work, whatever I can provide. I want to make sure that I'm serving my online community during this time. So, today I wanted to talk about things that are a little more difficult to talk about with our teenagers. Mostly middle school, I would say, in high school, but sometimes even third, fourth, or fifth grade we need to address these conversations. There's been an increase in depressive thoughts, suicide ideation during COVID. I don't have the specific stats on it, but I've been talking to my school counselors, I've been talking to teachers, and we're agreeing that kids are really isolated, they feel lonely, they might not be in the best home either, they might not have access to Wi-Fi, we don't know, and especially a lot of the schools that I've worked in are underprivileged, underserved, so this can be a really difficult time for kids. And even if you have the best home and the best opportunities, sometimes behind closed doors we don't know what happens. So I want to talk about depression and suicide. I've posted a video from yesterday with Mrs. Leon, who is an SEL counselor, and we had a really long talk about depression and suicidal thoughts. So that's a must watch because she gives us some great tools. I want to have a conversation of what you can do as a parent. So often in my programs, especially my parent trainings, I almost get into arguments with parents about middle school and kids thinking about depression, feeling sadness, and even having suicidal thoughts. And they're like, not my kid. More likely than not, they definitely know what suicide is. They want to talk about it. They don't know how and what platform to do so. They're curious, not in a way of oh, I like it, but curious of well, what happens? What's going on? Why does my friend do this? Or what have I seen on TV? So they want to better understand. So by talking about it, it's educating our children. It's not increasing their thoughts or exposing them to it. It's creating a safe place for them to understand that sometimes when it feels really, really bad and I don't feel good at all and I'm sad and I'm lonely and I am not alone, and also I can do something for myself. So by talking about suicide and depression and mental health and mental illness, we're opening the door to enlighten our children versus I'd hear before, you're just gonna put ideas in my kid's head. No. So your kids already know a lot more than we ever know, and they tell me more than 90% of the kids, when we do this activity called Cross the Line, where we talk about difficult times, feeling pressure, anxiety, losing someone that you love, they say themselves, us not prying, I want to talk about loss, grief, suicide, and depression. And we're always okay, well, we have an hour assembly, a little difficult to fit that in, but let me talk to your school counselor, let me talk to your teacher, and let's get that information to you. So they don't want a PowerPoint, they don't want a training on it, they want to talk about how they feel. So being quarantined as a parent, this gives you the opportunity. It is difficult, it's uncomfortable, and you might fumble on your words, and that's okay. I fumble with my own kid. And I'm a bully teacher. I've talked about these things for years. I've listened to kids. But sometimes when it's your own kid, it's really close to home. So what's the important things that we need to talk about with our children when it comes to suicide is understanding the different terms. I've talked about a lot in these videos. Defining what suicide means to them, what depression means to them, what anxiety means to them. What does it feel like when they feel sad? Where do they feel it in their body, right? What are some behaviors that you can pay attention to when they're sad or they're depressed? So they will tell you, because sometimes we don't pick up on the signs, especially when our child becomes a teenager. It's overnight you're shut out, right? So you need to be almost hyper vigilant on if your child isolating, are they displaying weird behaviors, is their moods changing, You know, are they doing drugs and alcohol? You know, who are they hanging out with? Who are their followers, their friends? These are all things that are important that we need to be aware. And when we're shut out, that's when we need to start opening the door with our children and be like, please just let me in just a little bit, right? I am here. Create a safe place. Remember, don't lose your cool. So it's really hard as a parent, and I'm telling you this because I even have emotional reactions. I train about corrective responses, but I will still emotionally react when something is really upsetting that my kid's telling me. It's normal. We're human. But what I want us to try is to come from a place of calm, understanding, and compassion. So versus saying like, well, why do you say that you want to kill yourself? Or why are you doing that? Or, you know, when kids are cutting, which is self-mutilation, like why are you cutting yourself? Like, what is so difficult in your life that you need to do this, right? So those are things that I'm repeating that I've heard other children say. Or like, I'll give you something to be stressed out about, right? So those are the things we want to avoid. My emotional response is I'm mama bear. I'm out like, you know, so I'm going to fix the problem. Like, no one's going to hurt my kid, and I need to calm down. Calm down. Because my emotional response creates a reaction in my kid. So she is less likely to open up to me if I lose my cool. So I need to stay calm, and I have to remind myself, this is not about you. This is not about how you are a mother. This is not about how you do your job. This has nothing to do with you. So stop, get out of your head, and listen to her, right? Show compassion, show care, give her direction. Don't tell her what to do. Just show different options she has to figure out this problem. And sit with silence. Because when our children talk about depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, and suicidal thoughts, we sometimes don't know what to do. And it is okay to not know exactly what to do. But just don't stop there. Go and Google resources. Reach out to a friend. Reach out to me. Reach out to psychologists, therapists, right? Get the help. There's a ton of resources, and they're at our fingertips. So don't just say, well, I don't know, or I can't deal with that. Because then you're shutting the door, and we want to open the door. It breaks my heart when I hear stories of children that have committed suicide and their parents had no clue. It breaks me inside. Because there's things sometimes that we don't understand about teenagers. They have strong emotional responses and reactive behaviors, and often they regret their decisions. But in that moment, it was so real, it was so intense, they acted upon it. So by us understanding our children's triggers, what stresses them out, right, and what keeps them going, what keeps them hopeful, what brings them joy, and what they're really good at, it gives us a chance to really start to pay attention and be hypervigilant. I mean, think about it now. We are with our kids 24/7. I am my daughter's personal assistant, homeschool teacher. I'm actually now a dog walker. I'm a professional cook. I'm a cleaning lady. Like, so I am constantly around my family, which is these are the things that I really didn't do as much, right? And now I'm all in it because we're stuck inside and we have to figure things out. So I want you to think about that. So with that time, I'm not saying spend hours developing bonding relationship with your children, but start opening the doors to communicate and having those difficult conversations. Because the first time is going to be awkward. But by the 10th time, you started to open the door to listen so they feel heard. And what helps the most when children have thoughts of hurting themselves and don't know what to do is if they can talk to just one person. It gives them the beginning and the start of a release. I feel heard. Oh, that felt really good to let that out. I was speaking to a child, and I do a lot of this work, and I'm not specialized in suicide, depression, anxiety, but because of our work, we're always in it. We work with professionals. I'm always looking at resources, and this one child all the time. She was a teenager, and I loved her, but on her bad days, she'd be like, oh, I just want to kill myself. And we'd have to take a deep breath. I'd be like, okay, let's talk about this. So, I said, obviously I'm a mandated reporter. I have to report this, but can we just talk about why you're saying that? Right? What's going on? And she was like, I say that because it's like, it just can't get any worse. I just want us to stop feeling this way. Aha. I want to stop feeling this way. So they want a release. They want something to change. Something needs to be different. But sometimes they're so pigeonholed into their pain, their trauma, they can't see anything else. So what we want to do as educators and parents is, versus silver lining it and making everything like, well, you should be grateful for this and this is not that bad. Sit with them in that pain and that moment where they're pigeonholed in that little sliver of their reality they see, and they don't see everything else. And then when you have that opening, start talking about the things that, bring them joy, and then ideas that can help them better understand how to help themselves. So it's really hard when a child is in so much pain, sadness, depression, to be like, well, let's talk about what you're grateful for. I mean, we have to take it back a few notches. We have to go like, hey, let's talk about looking at your life as a whole. What are some things that you enjoy? What are some things you like to do? Okay. Who are some people that are in your corner? Who are some people that have made an impact on your life? Who are some people that you love? What are some things that sometimes make you laugh or bring you joy? So what I'm doing is I'm going really, really general to kind of like start sparking ideas for the child, and then you start working through it. So what you're doing is you're taking that one component of their reality and their lives, and you're bringing it to a broader perspective with the idea, like, if I can change just a little part of your story, then maybe we can start moving in a different direction. Where instead of feeling so much sadness, depression, or any ideas of harming yourself, we can start thinking of ways to help yourself, or things that are actually pretty great in your life, but you don't see right now, which I understand I wouldn't see either. So that's what I'm talking about. So go and sit with the pain, address the emotions, do not dismiss it, but then go broader as far as like, what's the story they want to tell themselves? Because often the story I hear from teenagers is, I am not good enough. I am so terrified of disappointing my parents, right? That'd be the worst. I am a failure. I'm a loser. I'm dumb. The only thing I'm good at is sports, right? No one understands me. So that is so isolating, those statements. So what we want to do is be like, no, you are enough, right? You are amazing. And this is why you're amazing. And these are all the reasons I love you. And those are positive affirmations. So this whole conversation is super difficult to have. And it's even hard for me to record this because there's such stigma around it, and we're not talking about it enough, that when it happens, it's just so horrific and painful, because there's not enough education, knowledge, and discussions around mental health, mental wellness, anxiety, depression, and suicide. And I think that starting to open the doors and just having those conversations about how you really feel, and it's okay to feel crappy, right? And if you're in so much pain, I am here for you. I will not judge you. I won't call you crazy, right? I won't say that my life is worse than yours. I'm going to sit with you and be with you, because that's what we need more, is more time to fuel connection and start breaking down those judgments, those moments of disconnection, and then when we start pointing the finger. So I want you to just think about everything that was shared and ideas that you can come up of finding your own groove to have these difficult conversations with your kids. If you need any resources in this YouTube, I'm actually going to post my top resources when it comes to having conversation about suicide ideation, what hotlines to use, what are some really great therapists, and then also some other like sites that have additional stuff, so that I'm not just the voice that you're hearing, but there's a pool of resources that are for you, and you will find what you need to have those conversations. So thank you so much for listening to me. This is as hard for you as for me to talk about, but as parents, we need to address these topics sooner than later. And the minute we have them, we're really opening a door to understanding our children's mental health, their mental wellness, and how we can actually be there for them versus how we think we should. So I'll leave it with that. Thanks so much for joining me. If you liked this video, please hit the subscribe button below, and I think it's press the like, whatever. I hope these resources help you. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.